Hi, everybody. We've got a Survivor Series prediction show for you. We've got WWE Survivor Series this Sunday, November 22nd, starting at 7 on the WWE Network. We've got a 6-match card. Some of the matches still have some people left to determine, specifically in the 2 Survivor Series matches. So we'll get into some of these predictions. But before we do that, just get some plugs out of the way. Feel free to follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. The bottom left corner of your screen, you can see @AngryBeaver1127. Also, please feel free to hit the subscribe button. That way you get email notifications whenever I post any of these prediction shows. I did one last weekend on Turning Point, done them on Hell in the Cell, done them on some AEW pay-per-views. So kind of cover AEW, WWE, and Impact. So if you are looking for predictions before any of these pay-per-views happen, I tend to bring them to you a couple of days before. I'm recording this one on a Wednesday. So from Wednesday to Sunday, obviously the card can change. As I mentioned, there are a couple of Survivor Series positions that can change between now and Sunday. So obviously everything is all subject to change. But feel free to give a thumbs up on the video. Follow me, as I mentioned, on Instagram or on Twitter @AngryBeaver1127. Again, hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe, leave comments, any kind of interaction. I love getting that. So we'll get into some of these predictions, but again, feel free to leave those comments. So this is also, as we get into these predictions, this is the 30th anniversary of the debut of The Undertaker, who debuted at Survivor Series on November 22nd, back in 1990. So they have mentioned that he will make an appearance, but they have made it seem like he will simply come out, kind of have something to say. It doesn't really look like we're getting him in a match, which is fine. He's done plenty for his career. So we'll see what happens with that. I wouldn't be surprised if they had someone try to attack him and then he choke slams or last rides or tombstones or even goes old school on him or something. So I'm excited to see how they do this kind of farewell to The Undertaker. I will not be surprised if they have someone try to attack him to get that heat. But I would think this is going to be a little bit different than some of the normal goodbyes that we see. So very curious to see how The Undertaker's role fits into all of this, but I am very excited to see him once more. And as I mentioned, this is the exact 30th anniversary of his debut. WWE Network has also put out 2 different documentaries in the last couple of days, one on Paul Bearer and one on the Brothers of Destruction. As is tradition with these WWE documentaries, very, very good quality stuff. Highly recommend people go watch those. It does give a good amount of backstory that makes this 30th anniversary feel a little bit more special as well. So I want to encourage everybody to check those out, but let's get into some of these predictions here. We'll start with the Women's Survivor Series. The graphic for this and for the men's one, they didn't have all of the teams put together, so the graphics are a little bit incomplete. So I will run down the rosters for you. As you can see on the screen, you've got some people from the Raw team. So this is the Raw team. You've got Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, Lana, Lacey Evans, Peyton Royce as the Raw team. The SmackDown team, which is not pictured here, that is Bianca Belair, Ruby Riott, Liv Morgan, and then we have 2 spots that are to be determined. Now, when I'm recording this, I don't completely remember if we're going to see those 2 spots found out on SmackDown or if those will simply be spots that will be surprises that when we get into Survivor Series. Normally, if there's 2 spots that are to be determined, that tends to make me think, okay, that's going to be a surprise. It's going to be one of those cool spots. And then it's going to be one of those teams that kind of puts somebody over. And so normally I would project SmackDown to win this because of those 2 spots that we don't know yet. But we have seen Lana go through a table 9 weeks in a row. I can think of no better spot for her to be kind of the last person standing, if you will. So I'm actually going to project that Raw wins this. And their team is very good. Shayna Baszler can absolutely slaughter 99% of the roster. And I love watching her do that. But I think what they're doing is they're going to do something where Lana finds a way to win. Now, I don't love that that means that someone like Bianca Belair is going to probably have to eat a pin here. But I think the story that they've been telling for over 2 months, it kind of would play out well if Lana happened to be the last person remaining. Now that means she's going to have to pin somebody to make that final win. I don't necessarily know who they do with that. Maybe that's what the to be determined person is for. So still unsure as how this match is going to even be laid out with who's in it. But I do think the idea of Lana being the only survivor after she's been getting beaten up and put through tables for over 2 months, I think that's kind of where they're going with this, and it makes Lana makes her very likable, and she's already a very likable person to begin with. I enjoy her work. She's funny. She does a really great job with what she does and what they ask her to do. So I'm going to pick Raw to win this one, and then that would be Raw's first victory. And again, I don't know the order of these matches, but I'm going to go with Lana being the only surviving member of Team Raw left. So I'm going to go with Team Raw as the winner. The men's side of things, you can see we've got the Raw roster on here as well. AJ Styles, Keith Lee, Sheamus, Braun Strowman, and Riddle. He has lost his first name, so he's just going by Riddle now. The SmackDown team, which is not pictured, we have Kevin Owens, Jey Uso, King Corbin, Seth Rollins, and a fifth to be determined. Now, I mentioned that Undertaker will be there. I think it would be very unique, very cool if he was that fifth person for SmackDown, because he debuted at Survivor Series in a Survivor Series match as kind of that last person. I think that would be kind of a cool kind of wrapping up and long-term story of being that fifth person. But I also don't necessarily expect him to be that fifth person. So we'll see what happens with that. I am going to go with Team SmackDown, though. The Raw team has been showing that, yes, we're very good, but they're also very easily divided. Now I'm saying that, and then SmackDown has a team with King Corbin and Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins who all don't like each other. Jey Uso has done really, really well lately, but I think that to be determined is going to be kind of the deciding factor there. Again, I don't know who it is, but I think SmackDown's going to be able to find a way to get the win here, in part because this is also Survivor Series and it's trying to be the brand supremacy. And so I think giving SmackDown a win here, it doesn't really hurt either of the shows. And you're going to want to have that kind of balanced out anyway. So you have Raw with the women's winner as I project it to be. So I think SmackDown's going to take the men's one. And then you're going to see a little bit of a balance here. We do only have 6 matches on the card, so we could even in theory see a 3-3 tie. I don't really know what they're going to do with all of that, but it wouldn't surprise me to see Raw and SmackDown splitting the Survivor Series matches. So I'm going to go with SmackDown to win this. This match I am very, very excited for, but I'll be honest, I kind of wish that we were waiting a little bit longer. This doesn't really seem to have been built properly. I do like the idea of New Day versus Street Profits. I think that's a very cool match, but I'll be honest, I would have much rather seen it at WrestleMania. I would much rather have seen it with some real build to it, or something that they completely had on the table and completely dropped. They have diminished the tag divisions on both shows really, really pretty aggressively over the last couple of weeks by splitting teams and letting teams go and all that stuff. I would have thought when they did the draft and you had the question of who takes whose title because these two teams were champions and swap shows, I thought it would have been the perfect time for them to unify the tag titles, make them brand fluid like the women's are, and you could have had Survivor Series with these two teams, winner take all, to be the ultimate tag champs, because you also have that question of how many times have Street Profits and New Day had these tag titles. That is now being something that is in debate. If you would have set this up as a winner takes all, unifying the tag titles, they have enough talent where they don't need to do that, but they've done so much damage to their own tag division that I think that would have worked out really well, but that's not what we're getting. So I am going to say that Street Profits are going to take the win here. It puts them over a little bit. I don't think New Day loses anything here because, again, they don't lose their titles. They don't lose any credibility because they are arguably the best tag team that we've ever seen. And Street Profits are kind of that on the rise team. I also think that if you have them win here, you are setting up the ability to later on do a WrestleMania match where New Day says, hey, you got us before. Put us on a grand stage, put us in front of a major crowd whenever we get those back again. And then you can do a rematch that has some stakes to it. Maybe put another title on the line, put them on the same show or something like that. but I'm going to go with Street Profits to win here to put them over, setting them up for a rematch down the road, whenever that may be. We got the U.S. champion in Bobby Lashley taking on the Intercontinental champion in Sami Zayn. Bobby Lashley has been in positions like this before. He's obviously, we've seen him last year take on Sami Zayn in different capacities. I'm going to pick Bobby Lashley to win this because I'm really, really hoping that WWE gets this right. Bobby Lashley has lost so many matches over the last year that he shouldn't have lost. You're starting to establish him as this dominant champion who cannot be beaten. The idea that he could lose to Sami Zayn, and again, we've seen Sami Zayn win in less than ethical means, but I think the idea of Sami Zayn beating Bobby Lashley is something you do not want to do right now, because you have Lashley on the rise, being that dominant champion. I don't think you gain anything by having him lose here. Now, we did see Sami retain his title on SmackDown last week by basically getting his opponent's foot stuck in the ring. I wouldn't be surprised to see him do something like that to Lashley, but I think Lashley needs this win more than what Sami Zayn does. So I'm going to go with Bobby Lashley to win this one. Asuka versus Sasha Banks, women's champion versus women's champion. Sasha Banks routinely loses title defenses. However, this is not a title defense. So I will be curious to see how they do this, because the only title defense Sasha Banks has ever had was actually last week against Bayley. And then we saw her get super kicked by Carmella after the match. So this is a little bit unique because she has a title on her, but she's not defending it. So that leaves some open spots there as far as how they want to run this. However, Asuka has lost matches to people that she shouldn't have in the past, and a lot of people have made a big gripe about this. And Asuka seems to be doing pretty well as champion right now. So I'm going to just kind of gut feeling with this one. I'm going to say that Asuka wins this match, and then it puts that kind of thought in Sasha's head again of, I'm the champion. I just lost another match. And part of the reason that I still have my title is simply because the title wasn't on the line. And I think that can create some self-doubt for her. And again, I think Asuka just simply deserves and needs the win a little bit more. Sasha Banks is a very over person right now, as far as being very popular, and as she should be. But I think Asuka deserves this win a little bit more right now. The match that I fully am expecting to be the main event, we have Drew McIntyre against Roman Reigns. Again, Universal Champion versus WWE Champion. I don't see any reason as to why Roman Reigns should be losing this match this weekend. And that's no disrespect to Drew McIntyre. He has been very, very good, but we have seen him go through a lot of very brutal matches over the last month and a half. Really, his whole title run, he's continuously given matches to people, as The Miz said on Monday, you've been giving matches to people who didn't deserve it. He's wearing himself down, whereas Roman hasn't really been doing very many matches in the last couple of months since his return. And obviously he was gone before that too, but I don't see any reason why Roman takes a loss here. So I'm going to take Roman to win this. I don't know how this match will go, obviously, but I do think Roman wins this. And we need to also remember that Miz has the Money in the Bank, and he has been very vocal about the fact that his previous Money in the Bank was cashed in at Survivor Series. So it will not shock me to see Roman Reigns beat Drew McIntyre, and then as he's walking away, Drew's laying there, and then all of a sudden Miz comes out and tries to cash in. Now, I won't be surprised if he fails at this cash in, because I think his career has enough stability to it where he can sustain a failed cash in. But I won't be surprised if we see a cash in attempt at Survivor Series after this match. We'll see what happens with that, but I really don't see any reason why Roman loses this match. So I'm going to go with Roman to win this one. And then that does set up the chance later on where Drew gets mad and Drew wants a rematch, even though we've already seen these guys at WrestleMania before. It would not surprise me to see that kind of be where this goes later on. I've also kind of had the thought of maybe Drew sometime soon loses the title again, goes back to back and wins Royal Rumble, and then we get a Roman and Drew WrestleMania match, which again we've seen before, but without title. That was when Roman came back previously, when he first came back from his cancer diagnosis, but that match didn't really have a whole lot of stakes to it. This would be for a title. This would be off of a back-to-back Royal Rumble win. And then you obviously have the storyline of Paul Heyman being in Roman's corner as he was with Brock Lesnar. I could also see, we don't see too many times where a triple threat happens as the main event. Obviously, we saw it with Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair. We saw it back in the mid-2000s with Triple H and some other people as well. We saw that triple threat match. So we do see those once in a while, but it would not surprise me to see a spot where you have Roman and Drew set up for WrestleMania, but somehow Brock Lesnar gets brought into the picture as well, and Paul Heyman being kind of torn between Roman and Drew, or Roman and Brock, sorry. And then all of a sudden we see some kind of triple threat between those three guys at WrestleMania. I think that would be very cool. And you can start setting the layers up for this right here as well. So again, going with Roman as the win, but got some layers of what we can do afterwards with this. But I don't think there's any reason to have Drew beat Roman right here. So as I mentioned, this is the 30th anniversary of The Undertaker's first appearance. So we'll see what all that looks like. I'm very excited to see this. Only 6 matches on the card, but a lot of important things in there. As I mentioned, don't neglect the fact that Miz has that Money in the Bank contract. Also curious to see who those couple of to be determined spots are. So very excited to see what happens with this. As it mentions, it starts at 7. Hopefully we're done by a nice 9:30, 10 o'clock, and then we'll call that a show. But I want to thank everybody for watching. I want to encourage hitting the thumbs up. Feel free to retweet the videos because I do put the video links on Twitter as well. Follow me on Twitter at AngryBeaver1127. Same handle for Instagram as well. A little bit more active on Twitter than on Instagram, but feel free to hit the thumbs up, leave comments, subscribe. But just want to thank everybody for watching. Let me know what your thoughts are. Leave comments on what your thoughts on the match winners would be. And let's talk some wrestling off air. But again, thank you for watching. And until next time, we are out.